Hi, my name is Robert Hill. It's been a dream of mine for a long time now to take you on a factory tour and share with you the many intricate details and hand processes that bring our Trax models to life. Shooting this video is as close as I can get to taking you on a guided tour. We're here in Dangzai town, Dongguan, just northeast of Shenzhen in southern China, and we're about to enter one of the contract Trax model factories. And I promise you that you're about to gain a whole new level of appreciation for the words handcrafted. A good model car is not just made. There's a lot of pre-pattern and tooling work that lays the foundation of any good die-cast model. After all, shape and feel are everything. Most of this segment shows the development of a Trax and Trucks model, and in particular, we'll see the Opel HQ Monaro 4-door move through most stages of production. And for the more hawk-eyed members, see if you can correctly name one of the new Trax models as it goes through the tool-in cast stage. The use of hand production techniques starts at the very beginning of the Trax production process, as the Trax focus is on nostalgia models, from an era where computer design simply did not exist. Here we have the pattern being shaped all by hand, then the actual tooling steel being cut by a pantograph machine. Now compare the costs and especially the skill levels required for this process to that of the model makers of today's cars, where it's almost as easy as loading a CAD/CAM program of the real car into a computer. When the die-cast mould is finally complete, it's so heavy it needs to be transported by block and tackle to the next stage. The tool is first washed to remove foreign substances, then carefully hand polished. Finally, the first test shots to come from the mould are checked for alignment and to make sure that all the parts fit together properly. I asked our chief engineer, Man King, to talk about what's going on here.
Sure. This is the engineering section. After the casting has been tried and the engineer is checking the dimension, the fitting of the model, and see what sort of modification is required.
Only after these is the mould ready to move into production. As Man King is demonstrating, security is a high priority at all entry and exit points in the factory. Given today's values of Trax models and the worldwide internet market, metal detectors, security guards and closed-circuit TV are essential to stop black market trading of our models. The ABS or plastic components of a model are moulded on sprues. The zinc alloy casting machine sees the raw casting removed by a careful worker. After the zinc casting is removed, it's degated and trimmed of surplus casting material. This surplus casting is then totally recycled. The casting is then buffed to smooth out any surface imperfections. Hand filing is essential to remove any excess metal, and some models need drilling to help assembly. After that, acid cleaning removes foreign materials like oil to ensure good paint adhesion later on. Tumbling complements the acid cleaning process before the models are washed in clean water and then air cleaned one last time. Next, they're laid out onto racks and go into a drying oven in preparation for painting. This factory uses a water curtain technique that virtually eliminates all dust and foreign particles from the paint room. To enter the paint room, you need to walk through thick plastic curtains and then step across a moat. In here, you can see models being spray painted on a rack. Then it's onto the baking oven, which takes about 45 to 60 minutes depending on the model. Multiple coats may be applied depending on the model and its original colour. Imagine this as a huge pizza oven. The new paintwork then goes through a rigid quality control checking process before it goes on to be cleaned and polished. But even at this stage, the painting is far from over. Early models from the 50s, for example, might only need a few layers of mask spraying. But this recent Denim monocoach needed no less than 21 individual mask spray processes or passes. The model begins to take on its own character in the tampo printing department. Here we can see the factory worker painstakingly lining up the tampo pads for the printing of the HQ opal bonnet stripes. It's all done by hand, and there's a lot of checking until he gets it 100% right. Remember, this is only the shell stage of the model. The complex stages of assembly are still to come. A conveyor belt links most stages of assembly, starting off with the gluing of the HQ radiator to the bumper and the headlight lens to the bezel. Interior comes next, followed by the boot, then rear windows and the engine bay. And of course, this process is again done all by hand. The windscreen wipers and the chassis assembly come next. We've often been amazed by the high tension leads in the engine bay of the 1/43rd scale Opal. So here, I want to show you the engine assembly and the bundling together of the 8 high tension leads for the model. Can you imagine doing this for 8 hours a day? I don't know about you, but surely this should be the highest paid role in the factory. Next comes the assembly of the suspension. On another production line is the Denim monocoach that we saw earlier being spray masked. Here is the interior being fitted into place. In its unpacked state, the model has yet another quality control check. Again, handwork is vital and attention to detail is essential to find any last-minute flaws that might have been missed at the individual production stages. Only one more stage to go, and that's the final pack-out. Depending on the model, it may have journeyed through up to 90 different production stages, most of which are performed by hand. That's a lot of work before it finally takes pride of place on the shelf as the latest addition to your collection. May we present your finished Trax model. I hope you found that as fascinating and informative as I did.